ready for another preview show? I kinda am. Kinda, sorta. I mean, you know. Looking forward to Warhammer 40,000. What are they going to showcase? I have no idea. It's probably, if I had to guess, I can't see my other window here. What happened to my other window? If I had to guess, I'm going to say the preview of Eldari stuff that we probably could have gotten a little while ago. You know, the Asurman Phoenix Lord update. I'm sure many people are looking forward to that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the 40k stuff. The Necromunda stuff, yeah, it's interesting. It's always interesting. Legion Imperialis, I mean, until we start getting Xenos and, you know, it becomes, you know, what we remember as Epic 40,000, you know, I'll really get fired up. I mean, Horus Heresy is great. Legion Imperialis is great. But, I mean, I lean towards, you know, more the contemporary battles with all the many factions, not just, you know, Space Marines and stuff. Oh, we got this thing going here. We got it going here. We got it going. Let's go. A whole host? All right, Lewis. Guys, hear this okay?
So without further ado, let's kick things off with our first reveal.
Okay, first reveal. Let's go. Sister Battle. Love it. Let's do this. Nice. Seraphim. Ooh, Standing Bear. Nice. Me likey. I like all the movement in their poses. Canonus? Is it Canonus or Canassus? Oh shit, somebody got just volume there?
Yes, the Elite Sisterhood arrives with a new codex and a Battle Force 2. I'm joined by Stu and Josh from the Warhammer Studios to talk all things Adeptus Sororitas. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Always good to be here.
Pleasure to have you. So let's jump straight in then. Chat a little bit about the Codex and what players can expect to experience from the Sisters of Battle.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the elite forces of the Ecclesiarchy, so the kind of imperial faith.
Yeah, I dig it.
A whole warrior sisterhood, equipped in power armor. And this is, a really great codex.
I like the standard
great
brand.
miniature release for them.
Cool.
Nice. And they've got some new detachments as well. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so now, of course, with the indexes, you get one detachment. In the codex, you've now got a choice of 4 different detachments to play through.
Okay.
One of the detachments stays very similar to the index, so if that's how you loved playing your Sisters Army, you can continue to enjoy it. But we've now given you 3 new ways to play that will focus on different types of units, depending on your flavour.
Oh, okay, very nice. We've also got a new miniature too, the Canoness with Jump Pack, alongside that Battle Force.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Canonesses are the kind of fighting leaders of the Sisters of Battle, and now we have one with a jump pack.
Yeah.
So she can lead Seraphim and Zephyrim into battle. She's actually kind of ties in nicely, doesn't she, with one of the detachments?
Yeah, so I mean, there's an Army of Faith detachment, and what that lets you do is you can do more acts of faith, and also the theme behind it is that angelic host. So the jump back units, their strats mean that they have like auras which buff sisters nearby. So it's that like they see an angelic figure and it inspires them in battle to do greater feats.
Yeah, so that whole battle force is themed around
That's
that.
what the whole army is,
New
just
Canoness
buff
and that new
sisters.
detachment all kind of working together on the battlefield.
And it's a really cool kit as well. There's some like awesome options there. Can you chat us through a couple of like the different options, different variants?
Yeah, so she's got a couple of different weapon options, hasn't she? She's got the like two-handed halberd,
Yes,
which I think is the
that's cool.
If you want to kill loads of individual things. And then she's got the power sword that you see on the front of the box.
Yes.
That's like the generic weapon, isn't it?
That's like your mid-range. Can target most types of units, and then also she can have a pistol at the same time with the power weapon. So if she wants to add a bit of shooting to a Seraphim unit, they're more of a shooting unit, she can join them. Whereas probably if she's going for the two-handed weapon options, she's probably going straight for combat in those builds.
Okay, nice. So chat to us a bit about the Battle Force as well, because no Canoness is complete without the Battle Force. So talk to us a bit about those.
So as Josh was saying, it's kind of themed around that angelic host idea. Yes. So a load of Seraphim, Zephyrim, and then it's got the Exorcist as well, hasn't it? Just so it's got some kind of long-range punch.
Yeah, to give you some options other than just charging headlong at the opponent, you've got some range as well. But I mean, the great thing for us is because the Canoness now adds a brand new option, those angelic units only had Saint Celestine before that could lead them, and she was an epic hero, so you could only take one. Whereas now you can take multiple, if you want to, multiple Canonesses with jump packs, leading your host of angelic figures.
Yeah, you can really lean into that particular detachment, can't you? And as
That's
Josh was saying earlier, there's a couple of other detachments. There's the Penitent Host, isn't there, which is the kind of Archoflagellants.
Yeah, if you want to punish yourself and you're like, oh, that's the, okay, I'm going to go down the Penitent route, or you want to go down all the little walkers they have. There's also a detachment, if you, from the lore and background, the Sisters of Battle rely heavily on bolters, melter, and flamer weaponry. There's a detachment that's built all around bringing those weapons to bear. And then also, as I said, there's, if you like the playing as you would currently do, that's still fully supported as well.
Yeah, and they still have Acts of Faith, don't they? That's still their army rule,
Yes.
Which is kind of tweaked and updated from the...
Kind of interesting.
Still very similar. So there's lots of things there that kind of existing...
Also, another thing is that we're not getting a kill team preview.
familiar, but also some great new things that the new Canoness kind of opens up some new ways of playing, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. One thing I really want to know is some of your top highlights from the Battle Force or the Codex as well, or both.
I mean, for me, it has to be the new Canoness. I mean, just that there's such a cool model, the weapon options. I think
I like that.
there's
I
lots
like
of
the
choice between all,
unhooded
but
version.
the
That big
Hellwood
axe.
is going to be the winner for me. It just looks so cool. So
Is that an axe or
Yeah,
a
I think
halberd?
for me there's a spread in the Codex which kind of shows, I guess, the kind of organisation of the Adeptus Sororitas, and I think it's really interesting when you get to see kind of how your miniatures on the battlefield kind of fit into kind of the wider structure of like a military force. And the guy's done a really good job of kind of presenting that and kind of showing how it all kind of fits together into the kind of the structure overall of the Sisters of Battle. So I think that's a really neat feature of the book.
Nice. Well, Stu, Josh, thank you ever so much for coming in to chat to us about all things Sisters of Battle. Don't go anywhere, Warhammer fans. We'll be right back with some more news from the 41st millennium.
Sounds like there's a commercial coming. Ooh, what could it be? Gene Stealers? Very nice. Frames. Oh, who's this dude? Whoa! That's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. He's bringing all the big brain plays.
Just when you thought one codex was enough, the Gene Stealer cults emerge from out of the shadows
That's
to reveal
cool.
one and a Battle Force box too. We're back with Stu and Josh from the Warhammer studio to talk all things Gene Stealer cults. Guys, welcome back.
thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Let's jump straight back in and chat about the Gene Stealer cults codex. What can players experience with this one?
So it's a super fun codex. I think it's got some of the most interesting kind of rules mechanics and things in it, I think, with the kind of cult ambush and the way that works is super interesting.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most unique army rules in the game at the moment. So units popping up, you think you finally dealt with them as an opponent, and they come back again. It makes for a new challenge, definitely.
Yeah, we really wanted to kind of capture that feeling of like a guerrilla war. You know, so the opponents kind of stumbled into this plot that the Gene Stealer cultists have been working on for eons, that suddenly comes to fruition. So really trying to capture that both in terms of the kind of background of the book, all the artwork and stuff, but also really importantly with your toy soldiers on the tabletop. Trying to give it that kind of guerrilla warfare feel.
Yeah, nice. And with the codex, there's a couple of new detachments as well. Can you talk us through some of those?
Yeah, so over to you, Josh.
Yeah, so there's 5 detachments in the new book. So again, if you love how your current index plays, there is one of the detachments still fits that theme and will let you continue to enjoy how you play. But what we've also tried to give you is a wide variety of units that you can now use in different ways. So be that you really like the bikes and you want to play like an outrider force and you're sort of circling around your opponent, you want to focus on combat heavy and hitting really hard with aberrants and pure strain Gene Stealers. You want to swarm over your opponent with hybrids and again drag them down in combat. There's that. There's lots of different ways to play in the new book.
I think one of my favourites is the Brood Brothers. So where you're kind of Gene Stealer cult have kind of infiltrated the local kind of PDF forces or an Imperial Guard regiment, so players can still field that as well. And I think there's some really interesting stuff in the book around that. We've got a little hobby section near the end showing you how you can kind of convert up your models to kind of show that they've kind of gradually taken over the Imperial Guard from the inside, which is super fun.
And a ton of options as well.
Yeah, and that's from the rules point of view, that's a really cool way of doing it as well, because what we've a lot of the allies normally are a much smaller part of your force, whereas with this codex, what it's allowed us to do is up to half of your army can be in Astra Militarum units. So that really lets you customize your force. If you wanted to design an Imperial Guard force, maybe he's not quite as loyal to the Emperor as they once were. You can now do that to full effect.
Yeah, super fun.
So we've also got a brand new miniature to accompany
I like
the
this
battle
character.
force. Can you tell us a
This guy's
bit
pretty darn
about
cool.
the Benefactors?
Yeah, the Benefactors. So the Gene Stealers are quite an interesting kind of thing in the sense that they kind of infiltrate other species' kind of life cycle.
Yeah.
And so some of them.
How come we don't see Gene Stealer cults like in Orcs or Eldar?
Wander through society and no one really notices. Right. And as the cycle goes on, sometimes they kind of get these mutants and these other kind of things that appear. The Benefactors, I think, would definitely struggle to kind of stay concealed in Imperial society with his giant brain. So he's a really, really fun new character. He's essentially like an anti-tank kind of mental brain blasting kind of creature, isn't he? Is what he does.
Yeah, so I mean, he now has one of the
he can
strongest
blast up
guns
tanks?
in the
Jeez.
arsenal because he just mind blasts them, and so it's very good. It gives you a new option as a Gene Stealer cult player to tackle those either big monsters or big vehicles. And then what he also does, so he has sort of a dual role. He also gives the Unity joins lethal hits, which again is a great way of. Now a unit can try and tackle maybe one of those big tough units that it couldn't do before. So really that's how he synergizes into the army. He goes, okay, how can I crack big tough targets? The Benefactors is now opening up a brand new option for me.
It's just blasting up tanks with some psionic power.
That's kind of interesting.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where like the Gene Stealer stuff's quite mysterious, and these kind of mutants appear in the kind of Gene Stealer life cycle kind of when they're needed. And so no one's quite sure like how does that work? How do they know that now is the
It's a
time
cool looking
to
model,
kind of
not gonna
deploy
lie.
that particular type of character? So yeah, really fun new bit of background, fabulously miniature, great new tool for the game, isn't it?
Chat to us a bit about the battle force as well. So tell us.
Yeah, so he's in that, which is great.
Of course,
and that battle force is actually themed off one of the detachments, isn't it?
Yeah, so again, we talked about one of the detachments is around the Aberrants and the Pure Strain Gene Stealers, and if you really want to do that like hard-hitting combat, this is a battle force is built around that. So you get Aberrants in there, you get Pure Strain Gene Stealers, and you get some supporting units as well.
Okay, lovely. And finally, before we wrap up, tell us a little bit about some of your highlights, like from the Codex and the Battle Force box as well. I think I have a good idea what one of you might pick.
The big brain has to be the win for me. I mean, I think the miniature's so cool, and it's so iconic, really, for me. So
Yeah, and I think there's a couple for me. I think obviously the Benefactors is super cool. I think the games development team have done a great job of capturing the different ways of playing through the detachments. I really like the Brood Brothers detachment. I think it's really interesting. And I quite like the idea of a whole army that looks like a bit like an Imperial Guard army, but actually isn't. Yeah, and I think that's really fun, and really pleased that we've been able to get some of the kind of conversion and hobby kind of tips in the book that kind of show people how they can do that with their miniatures.
Well, Stu, Josh, thank you ever so much for coming into the studio to chat to us a little bit about the Gene Stealer course. We can't wait for them to arrive really soon. Some awesome announcements there, straight out of the 41st millennium. Now I've got a feeling our Horus Heresy fans are going to really enjoy this next part. Let's check out some news straight from Mars.
Straight from Mars. Oh! The Mechanicus. Oh, they're fun. Ah. These are all plastic, right? It's got to be plastic. Which is very, very cool. That's very, very cool. Not gonna lie, that's cool. I'm not that big into Mechanicus, but
The Soul Rulers of the Red Planets are coming to the Horus Heresy. I'm joined by Quinn and Will from the studio to chat all things Mechanicum. Both, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How you doing? Good?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Lovely. Yeah, very good, thank you. So, the Mechanicum has arrived. Tell us a little bit about this new army for the Horus Heresy and what they
the way
bring
the
with
image
them
looks, I thought that was a
today.
Titan in the background. I was like, what the hell?
is an existing army range for the Horus Heresy. You can already get their full army rules in the Liber Mechanicum. They've existed since the first edition of the Heresy. It's a slowly expanding resin range from the original set that started at the very beginning, and now we're getting the opportunity to revisit them in a similar way to the Solar Auxilia. They're fieldable as a dedicated army or as an allied detachment. Legion players can also include them in their army list using certain console choices. So it's a great opportunity for players who field any force to get interested in the range.
So there's also some new kits in plastic arriving as well for loyalists and traitors alike. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, so all of these kits have been with us for quite a long time in resin, but it was good to get the opportunity to rework them in plastic and take advantage of
Rework them like a molded
of
clay.
the opportunities that process gives us.
So talk to me a bit more about that process, what, in terms of sort of refreshing that range, like from resin to plastic. What's that like?
Yeah, well, both processes have quite different limitations and advantages. So you have quite a lot of freedom with resin, where you don't have to worry about the tool. Lots of undercuts and things like that. Yeah. So they're not necessarily the best designs to... You probably wouldn't have made them that way in the first place if you knew you were making them as a plastic kit.
Yes.
But then that gives you actually quite an interesting challenge when you do turn around.
I wonder if that's why we've never really seen a lot
the
of
most
these bigger
difficult part
kits
is probably
from
breaking
Forge
down
World
into
make
their
the transition
component forms,
to
because in
plastic.
resin you end up with a kind of a small number of
What if it's a
large,
huge
complex
pain in the ass
components,
to, like,
whereas
you know,
in plastic
they
you
have
have
to
to end up with
basically
a
redesign
larger
the
number of
entire
smaller,
model.
less complex components. But it gives you opportunities to do things as well, like for example in the Thanatar, the plasma, I can't remember what that's called.
Plasma bombard.
Plasma bombard was always intended to sort of open like a flower when it fires.
Okay.
But we couldn't give you two parts in resin because you know it adds too much to the cost of the kit. Whereas on plastic, if you have the frame space, you get the opportunity to add in those optional parts, so you can get a bit more variety when you build your collection.
Nice. Well, you guys have done an absolutely fantastic job with them as well. So talk us through what's on the table and this range refresh from Mechanicum.
So what you can see on the table is partly what is in the new Battle Force box for the Mechanicum. You have 6 Thalax, you have a Triaros armoured carrier, you have 2 Castellax, you also have 20 Tech Thralls, and in addition to the
Tech
contents
Thralls
of the
kind of
box,
remind me of
you
like,
have a new
servitors.
Archmagos model and a redesign of the Thanatar.
Very nice. Let's highlight these the infantry then. Talk to us a little bit more about those tech thralls.
Okay, so the opportunity was taken here to bring them a little bit more in line with the original background for them, adding a lot more of that kind of shambling undead feel. You know, if you look closely at them, then they have a lot of like disjointed limbs, dragged feet, that kind of stuff. So they've got a lot more character
look
than
like
the old resin
servitors.
versions. Otherwise, they've tried to keep quite true to the originals in the original models in concept, at least. You know. Just, again, an opportunity to update and improve as we move from resin to plastic.
So we've got the Archmagos on the table. Will, what can you tell us about this?
So yeah, this guy's a new model altogether. The main goal was to try and differentiate the Mechanicum from the Adeptus Mechanicus that you'll find in 40k. So they do look very familiar. But there's things like they're a little bit like lighter feeling, less of the layered carapace armor, and slightly different look to their equipment. So, for example, this character's got a stave, whereas normally you'd see a lot of axes, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's the main goal.
Well, Quinn, Will, thank you so much for popping in to chat to us about all things Mechanicum. We're super excited for them to arrive in the Horus Heresy.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
very
pretty
much.
cool.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Don't go anywhere because we've got lots more coming for the Horus Heresy
Is he telling
right
me what
after
to do?
this.
Don't go in. The nerve. Uh-oh. Big old campaign book coming? Very, very cool.
Yes, a brand new campaign book for Legions Imperialis. Welcome back, Quinn, and welcome, Dan, to the show. How you doing?
Not too bad, thank you.
Yeah, good. Nice to have you. So let's jump straight in. Tell us a little bit about the devastation of Talon.
So, what's broadly been known as the Battle of Talon refers to a roughly year-long campaign that takes place in the mid-years of the Heresy. It involves the Iron Warriors Legion attacking the Imperial muster world of Talon. Because that's such a large-scale campaign, we don't have the scope to go into that in any detail in a single book.
Okay.
So instead, the devastation of Talon focuses on the opening steps of the battle, which sets the stage for the later campaign. So that involves the Iron Warriors' initial attack on the world,
to learn infantry
the
models would
guerrilla
be neat.
war
Yeah, that'd
that
be very cool.
emerges in the aftermath as
I mean,
the survivors
this is for epic, of
fight on the
course, but-
surface in armored vehicles, and finally the main focus of the book,
But
which is a
for 40K,
conflict known
getting
as
some
the
new
Fall of
Tallarans?
the
Yeah, that
Sapphire
would be
City,
awesome.
which is the first
Or
large-scale
even
surface engagement
Solar Auxilia.
in which the Iron Warriors deploy en masse to counter oncoming loyalist reinforcements.
Okay, so as always, with a new campaign book brings some new and exciting ways to play Legions Imperialis. Can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
So the devastation of Talon expands on the Warfront campaign system presented in the Great Slaughter. These include things like the Breakthrough campaign, in which two players each have a stronghold and fight a series of linked battles with a push and pull mechanic to try and reach their opponent's stronghold. You have environmental special rules to reflect the
Yeah, those would
horrifying
maybe be
toxic
more of a kill
environment
team
of
thing.
Talon.
Yeah, kind of.
You have a battle honor system that allows you to upgrade units that
Like,
perform
honestly,
well
with,
throughout the campaign.
Asher Militarum
And finally,
or
there's a new
Solar
system
Auxilia, whichever
called
one you wanna look
Formations of
at.
Legend,
Like,
which
it's
allows you
endless
to recreate
possibilities of creating
specific
different
formations
regiments, you
and
know.
divisions from the narrative of the book.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the miniatures that we might see sort of alongside that campaign book as well?
So both the Space Marine Legions and the Solar Auxilia get reinforcements alongside the book. For the Space Marines, these are the Sicaran Punisher, the Sicaran Arcus, the Sabre Strike Tank, and the Termite. On the Solar Auxilia side, you have a whole bunch of new Lehman Russ variants, as well as the Shadow Sword, the Storm Sword, and the Storm Blade. Also included in the book are a number of new formations that allow you to field these different detachments in your existing
cool.
Legions Imperialis armies.
Russ Sandbags. I
And
hope
Dan,
there's
so
a new Chaos
campaign
Knight.
book, which
but
often
I'm
gives you the
betting it's
opportunity to
Necromunda,
change
yeah.
some of the
Well,
colour
we've already
schemes,
done
and
some
that's something
40K,
you've
so
done. So tell us a bit
I don't know
about
if we're
that.
looking at new Knights.
I
They
think
just
it's
revealed
an
the
exciting time
Mechanicum
to be a
for
painter when the campaign
Horus
book comes
Heresy.
around, because I think
Looked
actually
freaking awesome.
you get an opportunity to explore the other legions that we have. So actually we took the
Hopefully we
opportunity
get a new
to go
codex
to
released
Imperial
map.
Fists and
That
Iron
would be
Warriors
neat.
are
Yeah, that'd
sort
be
of
neat.
main two
Would be
legion
nice.
colour schemes. Both pose different challenges to one another. So at Imperial Fist you have to be quite neat. And you've got quite a bright colour, so when you put in those shade colours on the top and doing the recess shade, it's quite apparent.
Now, who's drilling out the barrels on that Gatling?
And then likewise for Iron Warriors, glazing metallics and stuff like that sort of poses other challenges. To sort of pair the two together, it's sort of quite a nice challenge for the guys to kind of have to figure out.
Well, Quinn, Dan, thank you so much for popping in and talking to us about the devastation of Talon. We can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. Now we're cooking. Another set of absolutely awesome releases and some really insightful stuff from the studios on what's to come too. Very exciting. You know what happens now? We dive straight back in with another announcement.
Okay, let's do it. Freaky deaky.
Over a century ago, something insidious was discovered lurking at the heart of Hive Secundus. The city was razed to the ground, and the ruins declared quarantine extremis. But even the Imperium's most diabolical weaponry couldn't destroy the memory of this forbidden city, and whispers spread across the planet. Whispers turned to rumors, tales of a nightmarish web of Xenos-infested tunnels, and the resting place of untold riches.
Look like undead gene stealers. That's wild.
Now, tech hunters like yourselves risk their lives in search of these secrets. Great works of art, lost archaeo treasures, and even data crystals containing the collected knowledge of Necromunda await you. But be warned, the cult of the Second Sun stands between the wealth of Hive Secundus and those who would dare plunder it. What would you risk to rise above the squalor of Necromunda?
Fucking love it. That looks awesome. Not gonna lie, people. That looks fucking awesome.
Yes, Necromunda's new season.
Yeah, Lewis, say
Hive
it. Go ahead,
Secundus
say it.
is
Drop the
on
bomb.
The way. I'm joined
Drop
by
it.
Alex
Lewis.
and Rob from the studio
it, Lewis.
to talk all about the new setting.
fucking
Guys,
say
welcome
it.
to the show.
Look at that
much for
fucking
having us.
Necromunda
Yeah, no worries.
shit. That
Absolute
is
pleasure to have
fucking
you.
awesome.
So let's start by delving into Hive Secundus. So where do we find ourselves in this new
Sid
setting?
Tyler, what the
So,
fuck?
Hive Secundus used to be the second greatest hive on Necromunda, only just behind Hive Primus. It was almost a Renaissance hive on Necromunda.
Nice.
And then the Hermiatus Magus came there when he was trying to cure the Gene Stealer.
I was wondering how you say that
What he was messing around with the genetics of the Gene Stealers, trying to find a way to reverse anything that they did, and basically protect all Imperial worlds from the Tyranids. Predictably, it all went a bit wrong.
As it does, it's 40k.
Exactly as it does in Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
So he ended up being infected himself. It gradually took him over, and he unleashed the Gene Stealer curse upon Necromunda.
Okay.
And the cult of the Second Son was born. Over many years, it gradually built up in secret until open rebellion occurred and the Hive turned against the House of Helmore. A decades-long war was fought for Secundus, and the space station above Necromunda, the Eye of Selene, was moved from its position directly above Hive Primus to be above Hive Secundus, at which point it unleashed all of the terrifying weapons upon the Hive itself. That created a huge crater, kilometers
We still haven't gotten
deep,
like spires
and just
returned
flattened
to
the earth and created
Necromunda.
also this whole almost different area.
Wonder if we get
called the
spires
Secundan
again.
Abyss, with the ruins of the cracked and destroyed Hive at the heart. This was
It's a
thought to have destroyed the
Russ
cult of
Sandbags, I wonder if
Second
they'll
Son
do a
and
new
wiped the
edition of
Gene Stealers
Necro.
off Necromunda.
Yeah, this is
However,
it.
there was still an exclusion zone
is the
set up
next
around it called the
box
Dust
set,
Wall,
to be
and
sure.
no one was allowed to go in. The Patriarch did not die, but he
Legion,
was
hide your genes, yeah, hide your genes.
mutated and
Freaking
changed,
undead gene stealers,
leading
man.
to,
Look at these
corrupted
things.
and
This is some
malformed
freaky deaky
force,
stuff.
which is the mouth strain Gene Stealer.
I love
now, Spiders go in there in order to hunt these Gene
Oh, these are the
Stealers.
spires.
So we got some Gene Stealers arriving too, as you mentioned, and we saw those in
I was
that
just
awesome
saying.
video.
Guess
there.
I wasn't
so chat
listening.
to us a little bit about what makes these so different from the pure strains that we're a bit more familiar with.
Their genetic code has been tampered with, which has led to mutations which have been exacerbated through the generations as well. They're still terrifying opponents, but they are not at the same level of power, the same level of strength as a pure strain Gene Stealer.
Okay, and in terms of a design point of view as well, Alex, how did you guys go about setting that up, sort of creating that kind of difference that we just heard about there?
For those Malstrain Gene Stealer, one of the main point was like, how could represent like evolution got horribly wrong.
Right.
So one of the aspects, okay, we needed to make them really more twisted.
These things are
feral.
freaky looking.
One of the main elements in the Tyranid.
They make a
especially
pure
Gene
strain
Stealers,
Gene
when you
Stealer
get- there's a
look
certain
awesome, like and
symmetry
clean
in them.
by
So one of
comparison.
the first thing that we did, obviously, is break all of that. We broke
Just change
everything.
those rules, yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, so the way the models are, all of them are really hunched. Like the limbs and the finger on each side, they don't match. They're really curved. The face, they're all twisted.
Those
all of
eyes are
them slightly
freaky
different.
looking.
Some of the plates are like lifted. You can have some boils, some bubbles, something, allowing them to really stand them aside from the pure strains. Yeah, this is how the original form looks like. This is how that mutated and twisted form
Is
looks
Necromunda
like.
becoming more and more like a horror
in the
game?
lore as well, this idea of like, because they are so twisted and so deformed, the
Like,
signal
one
that
could
they
say
send back
Warhammer
to the
40,000
hive
is
mind
kind of horror
is
as well,
so
but-
distorting and so different that the hive mind is like, nope. we're
Since
not going
Dark
there.
Uprising,
That's
it feels
great.
like
It's so great as
Necromunda
well
has
to hear that,
become
like,
more of a
it must be
horror
really useful for you
vibe.
as a designer as well to have that kind of juxtaposition, like something to go off. Like here's this thing,
It's
this kind of
yeah, like
standard
greys
shape,
almost.
how do you
Freaky
break that
aliens.
and change
Yeah, I
that
know
to
they are
make
freaky
something
looking
else?
aliens.
So we've
The
got
Gene
some
Stealers with
plastic
big bug
kits
eyes?
returning
That's
as well.
hilarious.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the Horus Spire?
Yes, well, the Horus Spire harks back to the early days of
that's
Necromunda
spires,
and the
man.
Outland supplement, and it's bringing them into the modern game of Necromunda. So the main thing now is they are all the signs of the Imperial House, so they are all part of House Helmore. In order to prove yourself worthy of taking on a position of authority and leadership within this great house, you have to prove your own personal prowess by going down into the depths of Hive Secundus in order to slay Gene Stealers and build your kill count and show how powerful and great a combatant you yourself are against the toughest foes on Necromunda.
Yeah.
They go in there with the tech hunters from the Vansar,
Okay.
and that's quite a symbiotic relationship. That they
okay.
both need
So
each
these are
other to go
Vansars.
down there, because the Vansar are desperate to go down there to plunder the riches and the wealth and the knowledge, whereas the Spirers, they need to draw out the Malstrain Gene Stealers so they can actually attack them and kill them.
Okay.
And so it's sort of the
Oh, this is very
Tech
interesting.
hunters are there as bait for them, or sort of here's some
great.
noisy humans invading your home. Come attack them. So I can then go and attack them back.
Yeah.
And that's also reflected
Damn
in the
spires.
campaign of the Spire and the Tech Hunters. There's
They're
slightly
jerks,
different
man.
things they're trying to achieve in the game. but they still need to work together or both will fail.
That's great. It's a fantastic relationship. So, Alex, chapters.
Jeremy, Necromunda has always been a horror
How did
game.
you guys go about?
They're just pulling
sort
back
of
on the humor.
reimagining that kind of classic kit.
I don't know.
One
I
of
think the game
main
still has
thing
plenty of
about
humor in it.
those suits that we have in the lore, and that they are
You
retrieved
read the rules, read the lore.
off-world by Helmor and like repurposed to be used for the nobles. And so in terms of their design, the first thing that we looked at is like to make them deliberately strange and not totally human. So because one of the things that the noble have to do to be able to wear those suits is they have to go through heavy body modification to be able to go on those suits. As you can see on some of the models, some of them
I
have
like the
their
paint
lower
jobs.
leg
Look at that.
amputated, they have like
like
their
color
spine
shifting.
reinforced, bones are stretched, so they can fit into those armor. So once again, showing that it's not totally human or totally imperial if you have to do that, right? And one of the other things that we did to represent that aspect is we stepped away from more imperial shape, like those straight line, that hardness, or something
more akin to something like out of the
Gothic,
Heresy.
in favor of something more fluid, more organic, even slightly insectoid.
That's really great that it sort of shares the same themes as the Gene Stealer cults in terms of looking at those
So
shapes.
I wonder,
and
is that
changing
suit
them to
kind of
create
like an
something
Horus
sort of
and
other? That's
Malkador
really,
suit?
really
Is that
interesting.
what that is?
There's a certain elegance in one,
Yeah.
while there's definitely something twisted and feral on the other one.
Yeah,
so
of
yeah,
course.
the two expression of the same pattern, which is
So
like quite nice and unique.
Definitely, yeah. Well, thank you ever so much, both of you, for coming in to chat to us about the new season of Necromunda.
Yeah, it's a box
Hearts
set.
and
Look at
Converse.
that.
It's been really great.
Rulebook,
Thank
cards.
you very much for
Thank you very much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah, no worries at all.
Looks cool.
Well, that is all we've got time for. What a show and what a series of announcements. A great big thank you to all of the fabulous people from our
Jeremy,
Warhammer studios
it's like
for
you're being
talking
compared
to us
the
about all
tongue-in-cheek
the
of,
latest
like, the old
reveals.
Necromunda
And a
or
great big
Gorkamorka.
thank you to you
It's
for
gotten
being
way
with us.
darker. Yes,
We hope you've
definitely,
enjoyed it
yeah.
just as
I
much
mean, I've
as
been
we
playing
have.
Necromunda
Remember to
since
head to the
way back.
Warhammer community website if you'd
And,
like to find out more
yeah, it
about any of the
was-
upcoming
wasn't goofy,
releases. And don't
but it
forget
had
to
humor.
follow us on all our
But these
socials
days,
to
yeah,
keep up to date
it's-
with all the
it's a lot
latest
darker.
news. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on
Yeah,
the
it's a half
Warhammer
an hour.
Preview Show.
That's it, Lewis. We only got half an hour. Like, all right. Somebody is going to start griping right now. Okay, here we go. Oh, how come I can't turn this down? I hate when I can't access the damn functions again. Hold on, I'm just going to refresh this page so I can turn this off. Piss off. There we go. All right. So, why did we have to have the other half-hour preview show the other night, 2 days ago, and then have another half hour when usually we have an hour presentation? Is it maybe because the hour presentation is a little long for everybody to sit through? Do they find that maybe, you know, going over their analytics, like people are tuning out at certain points? I don't know. I mean, realistically, like they could probably just do these preview reveals just as like a YouTube video, because obviously this is not live anymore. This is a pre-recorded thing. And, you know, yeah, it feels like, you know, I thought there was going to be more, especially with, you know, breaking it up, because I thought, okay, well, Age of Sigmar we had the other day. There was a lot of stuff to go over. And it was really kind of just, you know, catching us up with a lot of what the Warhammer community articles was already giving us. And the preview today, I mean, yes, it was fantastic. And yeah, we're going to get a bunch of the individual videos showcasing this stuff. But, you know, we don't have the live presentation. We don't have, you know, the back and forth. And, you know, I don't know. It just doesn't ring the same. Does it? You know, I don't know. Legion, what? Short stream? Yeah. Russ Sandbags, they should have done an hour. Yeah, they could have done an hour, right? Like, with the Age of Sigmar stuff and all the stuff we got today, that was an hour presentation. And I don't know why they broke it up into two halves. Maybe that's what they're going to do moving forward. I don't know. Because, like, also the other thing is that it seems like since Games Workshop has returned to having a presence at conventions and tournaments and stuff like that, it feels like, you know, they want to have that opening night of those events be Games Workshop focused. So maybe that's why they do it. Maybe that's the whole point is, you know, they want to have at these big events to have the draw to draw more people in, because they're going to get a live presentation. But I don't know, because it's all pre-recorded now. The last, like 3 or 4, maybe 3 preview shows, they've been pre-recorded. They haven't been live. So I don't know. I'd like to see them return to a live, but I'm sure it's probably very taxing on the presenters because the times are all out of whack because they're in the UK and these events are going on in North America, especially on the West Coast where, there's a difference of like 8 hours and, I don't know. I have no idea what their thinking is. I'm not in the room when these decisions are made. So, Jeremy Witt, attention spans for their target audience is not going to survive a full hour. Yeah, like that's possibly it. Are they seeing the analytics and going, yeah, people are tuning out after a half an hour. So let's make these reveal shows only a half an hour, which is fine. But I think if you're going to make the presentations only a half an hour, then I think we should speed them up a bit. Little less, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Like with these interviews that looks like Lewis is doing with like designers and the painters and the studio people. It feels like that could be a separate element, and you know what I mean. Like everybody's kind of here. This is going to be what's coming up. Expect these kind of dates in the near future. You don't have to give us dates. You can just give us time frames, right? Spring, autumn, whatever, right? And then, get to the meat and potatoes and then just go through the whole things. And then for everybody out there who wants, say, greater context on these new things, these decisions, stuff like that, then we get these other interview videos. And, I don't know. It just feels like they could just make it more separate and specific for everybody who's into everything, because not everybody who's all about Games Workshop and Warhammer is about every game. Some people are only about Warhammer 40,000. Some people are only about Age of Sigmar, Old World, Warhammer Underworlds, Necromunda, Legion Imperialis, Horus Heresy. You know what I mean? Like, some people only collect certain specific things and are only interested in specific things. And I think that's really what I think they should do more going forward. But I'm definitely hyped for Necromunda. That is awesome. That's awesome. And I really don't pay too much attention to the Horus Heresy stuff, but the new Mechanicum, very, very cool. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm guaranteed that all that stuff sells out immediately, right? Jeremy Witt, basically they were build hype in the impulse buy younger crowd. That's why they make their money. Yeah, of course. Russ Sandbags Impromptu Way the Brush episode 400. Not quite. What time are we at? Yeah. Jeremy Witt, separate interviews and previews would be ideal. Yeah, I think so. I think within the video of the preview, it should also end with like little snippets of like interview, so that anybody who wants to, get greater context on the preview, what it took and what the design team went through and like the thinking process on these changes or updates or brand new thing. You know what I mean? Like all these things that a lot of people who are very focused on that particular game, they can get that greater context from that video. And, yeah, I think doing it more as a live presentation, I think is more exciting, because again, when you had, Adam and Eddie doing, reading like a couple comments out of the chat, it felt very personal, felt like we're all enjoying this experience together. But watching a pre-recorded thing, you might as well just release it at the regular times that they release stuff, right? Like, it might as well just come out, first thing, 5 a.m. my time when, everybody in the UK is waking up kind of stuff, or in midday or whatever. I can't even remember what time of day it is over there. But yeah. Legion, I like the interviews. Having more of these for new models, even separate on the community side, would be neat. Yeah, exactly. Like they can just pump these little videos out, just giving people greater context on these design choices, paint schemes, everything like that. Just a quick little thing, it doesn't have to be long, 5 minutes of video, or take as much time as they want, right? And then just put them up on the channel and people will tune in. They're not going to be huge numbers, I wouldn't think, but it doesn't matter, because it's giving the community what they really want is greater context on design choices, paint schemes, game mechanics, and you know what I mean, like lore and all these things. Like it just gives everybody greater information, and the more information the community has, the better informed choices and opinions that people will have about some of these things. Because when somebody, makes a design choice and the rest of the community is kind of like, why did they do that? Well, this is their opportunity to explain it. I know I'm really not one for advocating that people who create stuff explain themselves, like an artist, and he presents a painting, or she, and people go, well, what is it? What do you see? Right? The artist creates something and then puts it out there, and it's up to the community. And the artist does not need to explain their art. They do not need to explain their art. And I feel that same way about a lot of stuff, especially as content creators. I don't ever think content creators should ever really explain themselves. They don't have to, because it's their stuff. And if the content creator is truly making stuff for themselves and not, jumping on hype bandwagons or rage farming or clickbaiting or anything like that, yeah, then they're doing it right as far as I'm concerned. Otherwise, yeah, the people who just go in for just the clicks, they're short-lived. They're short-lived channels. They don't last very long. They disappear, and because obviously it's a taxing on their mental health. Unless, of course, they're so broken inside that they can just keep spewing this vitriol that is so much in the internet that bleh. Anyway. That was enough of my rant. Yeah, so I don't think this needed to be two separate fucking live streams. It doesn't even need to be a live stream. If it's pre-recorded, it doesn't need to be a live stream. If it's pre-recorded, it doesn't need to be a live stream. They can premiere it anytime. In fact, they can have, like on YouTube, you can set it up as a premiere. And if it sat there for a couple days, that this is the reveal and this is what we're talking about, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? That in itself generates hype. But yeah, anyway, I'm not in the room when these decisions are made, so unfortunately, I can't say, oh, well, blah, 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 and, no, that's okay. I don't need to be in the room, because then, I don't need all the weirdos sending me emails and messages saying, Kris, you fucked up, and, why did you do this, and that's completely dumb, and blah, 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 Because honestly, okay, I'm gonna bust some truth out onto you. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna bust some truth right all over your face. I don't care about people's opinions. I just don't. I don't care what other people think about me. I just don't. It doesn't bother me. Think what you like. Like whatever. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't lose any sleep over what I say or what I do. I just do. Legion. Also, did the Spire suit use the color shift paint job? I think I've seen something like that on the Heavy Metal. Yeah, I think it was painted to look like color shifting paint. I think that was the impression, because Games Workshop does not produce color shifting paint. Usually Games Workshop, they're not into showcasing other people's products. You know what I mean? Like if it was, Turbo Dork, they're not going to use Turbo Dork's paints on their official site, right? They're only going to ever use Citadel paints, and the techniques they use are only ever going to be Citadel Heavy Metal approved techniques, right? So that's why you're not going to see these trendy paint schemes or techniques, slap chop. You're not going to see slap chop out of Games Workshop. They're going to have their own version of it, but they're not going to call it that. They're going to call it their version of whatever the hell they want to call it, right? Because that's the way they operate. So anyway, I think we're done. Right? We're done? Yeah. I'm hot and sweaty. I was doing housework before I did the stream, so I was just dripping with sweat. Got family coming over today, so yeah, busy. And well, I mean, honestly, this is only half an hour, so that's fine. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in, listening to me rant and make dumb jokes and what have yous. I'm excited for the Necromunda. I'm very excited for the Necromunda. The Mechanicum for Horus Heresy, very exciting. New Gene Stealer character for 40k, very, very cool. Looks awesome. New Seraphim, exciting. Or Canis? What else did we get? Oh, Legion Imperialis. New campaign book coming out, so very cool. Yeah, it's all very cool. I don't think this needed to be its own separate thing. They should have just did this when they did the Age of Sigmar one. I don't know why they split it up into 2 days, but hey, whatever. I don't know what's these decisions that G-Dub's making. I don't know, but hey, you can't argue with the results, right? I mean, they're making money. they're making money, right? The stock's up, they're making money. Who are we to say, they shouldn't do that, they should do this, and blah, 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 blah. Nah, if they're making money, then they're doing something right, right? Right? Right, right, right. Okay, I'm out of here. And what an odd start time, 12:45. Like, who starts it at that time? Like, what the F? Alrighty, I'll see you guys later. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. And big thank you to my patrons. Big thank you to my members. All of you allow me to continue to do what it is that I do. And so a huge, huge thank you to you all. Alrighty. Peace.